Let's move on to a more positive note. I want to talk about, and I'm sure that a lot of our audiences want to hear from you as well, is what are some of the adaptations, innovations, things that you have done with your team locally that you're particularly proud of? You think that really is a bit of a game changer for you when it comes to, you know, business usual under the unusual? Anything you that comes to your mind when it comes to that? Christian, anything that you know?
I mean, I think it always depends for DB Schenker as a total company, but also I would say that for each department, the challenges and the solutions are quite different for us. So let me start. I personally work in contract logistics, but let's start with air freight, because I guess most people are more familiar with air and ocean freight. So, for example, in air freight, usually most of our goods and pallets in containers are transported in the belly of passenger aircraft, right? Basically, within 1 week, the capacity went down to 0 because there were no in and outbound flights anymore, not just to Korea, but to many countries in the world, right? So of course you have to react quite fast on that, because again, what I mentioned before, our customers still expect that their goods get transported from country A to B. And one solution for that is then, of course, if you reach out to chartered carriers. So that was a challenge for air freight, quite different to contract logistics. We had in our warehouses, we have some customers in the duty-free industry here in Korea, and I mean, it's not a secret, but the duty-free industry in Korea decreased by around about 90%. Whereas we have lots of customers as well in the healthcare industry, there was the opposite. Their volume increased by double-digit numbers. The problem is then, for example, that you have those warehouses. Most of our warehouses are in the Sudokwan, in the Greater Seoul metropolitan area, but still can be, of course, several hundred kilometers away. And then, of course, we needed to react with a very flexible and agile labor management system, and bring the workers from one warehouse to another warehouse. That's still, of course, following all the governmental guidelines and our internal health and safety guidelines. From our IT point of view, from our IT department, for example, what we implemented, we have some offices where we just have a security guard in the basement. But we said as a company, we have to make sure that we measure from each person the temperature and make sure that the person who's entering the office or the warehouse is also wearing a face mask, right? So what we set up, similar to the office here, such a temperature device, which not only measures your temperature, but also checking if you're wearing a mask. And in addition, if you wear the mask properly, as not only over the mouth, but your mouth and nose is covered as well. Only if this is given, the doors are opening. Otherwise, you cannot enter our office. That is, for example, something. What we also came up very quickly, some kind of app solution. So, and also that's combined with a QR code. So at each of our warehouse and office entrance, you find a QR code. So every person who wants to enter the office or the warehouse needs to scan the QR code. And then basically you have to input, you can also do that already 1 or 2 days in advance. You have to input the date you want to enter our warehouse or office. Of course, your name, your phone number, if you're a Schenker employee, outsourced employee, or one of our customers. If you, then you have to answer, I think, 4 or 5 safety questions. So everything is done through an application. If you don't do that, you also are not allowed and you cannot enter the warehouse. So instead of making the paper-based before COVID, we also checked, of course, who's entering our warehouses. That we did that on paper. But during COVID, of course, you want to avoid touching too many things, using paper, right? It's also an environmental-friendly question. So that's, for example, what we changed to an application. That was also one of the innovations what we came up with.
So the situation actually accelerated the technology.
Definitely,
when it comes to signing.
Definitely. Also for our company, we plan to set up a new VPN system and a new conference call system during this year, during 2020. I think that was planned for May or June of this year, but due to COVID, we had to do things much earlier and speed up the whole process. So that's what you're saying. Totally agree that basically the whole innovation part, speed up a lot due to COVID-19 and still needs to also for the future.
Is it a similar situation for you?
It's I guess what the biggest thing for us, there's two sides of it. There's the team side of it, and then there's the guest, the customer side of it. So the biggest thing for us at the beginning was obviously the uncertainty. We went from being full, all the restaurants full, events booked for the whole year into next year, all and then cancelling and that. So we had 440 staff that we had almost no work to do, right? Apart from key staff, all of a sudden. So the biggest thing for us was, one, the government helped with the subsidy, which was huge, and that allowed us to put team off for a month at a time. But then the team that we did have there were the biggest help for us was the flexibility of the team. So we went each month and we sent team members away, and then you have to commit to them to be gone for the month, and then you pick up 2 or 3 pieces of business as things got better in May and June, July. So we went through the summer having people from finance, sales, events serving weddings and breakfast, and they did so without any challenge, right? Without any, there was no labor issues with that because the team were incredibly flexible. So I think that was, from a cultural point of view, that was great for us. And building that flexibility and messaging what was going on with our industry, what was going on globally, what was going on in Korea, and why we needed the team to build this level of flexibility, how long it's going to last for. And we constantly updated that messaging, and that was really important for us to get the buy-in from the team as we went through that process. And October was our first month out of the government subsidy. We're actually hiring staff again now because we don't have enough staff for restaurants, for in key positions. We've redeployed staff from some areas that we know front office occupancy won't be back to the levels of 2019 for 2-3 years. But we know the restaurants are already busier than last year. So we've had to redeploy team. And again, but if we just decided to do that after 6 months without communicating and building the culture, it would have been very difficult. And we would have had labor issues. So that was that side of it. And then from a technology side of it, the hotel business is not normally a fast-moving technology business, but we're getting better. But so for that, in our event space, in our ballroom, we spent a lot of money with a partner, putting in LED walls in both of our ballrooms, but also the capability of video conferencing from any room to any room and to anywhere in the world. And we actually just did a video with Seoul Tourism as the perfect example of how to do a conference in the modern COVID age, being able to have speakers in any room in a hotel or bedroom or wherever, or and broadcast it to anywhere in the world. So we've improved that level of technology in our business, as it's a necessity, as we're all doing it here right now, right? We're broadcasting to it could be anywhere in the world, but also it could be in any room in the hotel, just to keep everybody socially distanced. So they were kind of from a personnel point of view and also from a guest point of view, some of the big changes.